Hi, everybody. How you doing? Thanks for coming out to Blue Bamboo. Most of you know me. I'm Chris Cortez. I'm the head inmate here at the asylum. And we're very happy to see you guys here, but I want to bring you up to speed. If you didn't get our most recent fundraising email, I want to let you know what's going on. So a big developer came in and they bought a lot of land, and including this building. And we can stay, but the rent is going to double. And in about 6 or 8 months, there's going to be a beautiful new parking lot here, lit and with an entrance on Fairbanks. And we may get a new door or something too. But in any case, we researched it. It's going to be a lot easier to stay married than get divorced. So we're going to stay right here, hopefully, and try to raise the money. So we come up with a thank you. And we know you're going to help us. So we come up with a little thing I think is kind of fun. So we're calling it Friends of the Boo. And if you can go to our website, you click on a little blue button there, and it'll automatically set you up with a recurring donation in any amount you want. I've suggested the number $12. I don't know why I came up with that, but $12 a month is $144 a year. If you go in the other direction, it's $3 a week or 44 cents a day. And you can, for the price of less than a pack of gum, you could help keep us here sustaining. If you get 500 people doing that, it's like $72,000 a year. So that's enough to cover the rent. So that's our goal, is to try to get 500 people to donate small amounts of money. Of course, if you can afford to donate more, that helps a lot. And some people would rather just give it all in one lump sum and not worry about having it come out every month. Some people aren't comfortable with the internet doing it that way. However you would like to approach it, we really appreciate it, and I hope you'll consider doing something like that. It can be done very easily. Comes out of your credit card every month. You'll get an invoice, and you can cancel anytime you want. And I hope you'll do that. So in the next 6 to 8 months, you'll probably hear about me talking about that sort of thing quite a bit, because it's going to be a big deal to try to, they more than doubled the rent. So it's going to be a big goal for us to try to hit that. But I believe we can. I think what we're doing here is really important, and I want to do this for the rest of my life if I can. And then when I'm ready, I want to turn it over to somebody else. That person might even be here tonight in the booth. I don't know, but that's Katie back there in the booth. But I got my eye on her as somebody who could take over this place when I'm ready to retire, which is a long time in the future, because I really enjoy this job. This is like the best job I've ever had. One of the great things about playing here is everybody is paying attention. So when you're a musician and you've written your own songs, you need people to hear those lyrics. You need people to know what it is you've created. And when everybody's talking over you, that always gets lost. So when I came back to Orlando after like a 30-year absence, and I knew all the musicians here still, but this need was still here. There was no other place was doing it. There wasn't a listening space. And I know that's kind of gone out of style. A lot of people are, just sort of, we're all videoized and stuck to our phones and stuff. But this is a special night. We will all be moved and emotionally carried someplace tonight. And I don't know of any place else where that really happens. So I'm glad we're here. I'm glad you're here. And I hope you'll continue to support us. Thank you so much. Jack and the show will begin in just a few minutes. So please enjoy. Thanks a lot.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Chris just stole my line. I'm glad you're here. You'll hear it in my song back there, too. I see so many of you out there that I'm just so fond of and really glad to see here. One in particular, and I'd like to put up a picture of her, is my friend and many of your friends, Madeline Potts. Madeline and I've been in love with each other for several years now, but somewhere along the line, we thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool to have songs and stories? And this was our first Songs and Stories show up there. You'll see Beth McKee is up there, and she's back here tonight. I'm very excited about that. It was a game changer for me, and I believe we've done about 6 of them. Of course, some of them were done remotely during the pandemic and whatnot. But so this show is dedicated to Madeline, and our show, the theme tonight is time, and I treasure the time that my family and I have spent with Madeline. There's just some things. So Madeline, I will do pretty much anything Madeline asks me to do. And it's the other way around as well. So when I first started attending Orlando Story Club, which is hosted by our teller tonight, Bobby, Madeline was there, and she encouraged me to continue telling my stories, and I fell into that. Year before last, I actually accompanied her, played music behind her stories at the Florida Storytelling Association. You'd be amazed how many thousands of people have been thrilled by Madeline's stories. So when she was unable to do this with us tonight, I thought, I'm going to dedicate it tonight. But as you see up there, on the left, we're actually in the middle, we're actually doing Led Zeppelin there, guitar and ukulele duo. Right here where I'm adjusting her music stand, we were doing Tom Lehrer's Masochism Tango. And I realized about the time that I put that music stand in front of her that this was my opportunity to be completely submissive. And I ended up on my knees kissing her on the foot in front of a full room that night. So I've sufficiently embarrassed her for the rest of her life. At any rate, and there's Floor, I see. Hi, Floor. It's funny when I start doing these themed shows, and I don't know if some of you were at the last one, which was dedicated to a friend of Karen and mine, Cora T. Elia from Atlanta. But when I start opening these little rooms in my 66-year-old mind, I find things there that I had forgotten, or things I misunderstood, or places where I want to go again and share with people. And the time one is really interesting. So all of us have these time phrases in our mind: time out, sexy time, out of time, a short time, it's a long time. It's the only thing that's so completely consistent in our lives is that it's just ticking by. And yet we have all these different names to describe it, and we lose time. We lose track of time. Time is on my side. I used to really like, will you still need me when I'm 64? But now I'm 66, and I'm not sure that it really makes as much sense as it used to. So I think you'll find in all of our stories and the songs tonight that there's an element that underlines time. So I'm going to call out our first storyteller. His name is Walt Belcher. Walt is from Tampa, and he's a newspaper man, and that's how we'll start tonight. Welcome, and thank you for coming.
All right. Oh, it's great to be here. I'm excited to be here. I've been to the Orlando Story Club a couple of times, and it's a great place, Orlando. Just had the Fringe here. And we're talking about time, and summertime. We're in the summer, and summertime I always think back to when I was a young person living, and I lived for summertime. School was out, and we would go on a road trip. My father worked in a textile mill. I'm from Greenville, South Carolina. I used to have an accent, but I lived in Florida so long I've lost some of it. But we would go somewhere on the 4th of July week. He worked in a textile mill. My mother worked there. My grandfather, our whole family worked in this one textile mill. And we always got the 4th of July week off. And sometimes we'd go to Myrtle Beach. But one time, I'm going to tell you about this trip I went on. It was a great adventure. We were going to see my Aunt Stella and my Uncle Tom, and they live in Hollywood, Florida. Now, it's before they have an interstate highway, and it's before they have fast food restaurants. It's like the end of the 1950s, the beginning of the 60s. And we're going down the old Dixie Highway. We're going from Greenville, South Carolina, all the way down to Hollywood, Florida. It's a great trip. My father is driving a '49 Dodge. It's 11 years old, but he just couldn't part with it. And it had a gear shift on the steering column. And we didn't have any air conditioning. We just rolled the windows down, which meant we had to turn the radio up all the way. And our GPS was my mother with a Texaco road map. And we took us, now the top speed of a 1949 Dodge on a 2-lane blacktop is about 50 miles an hour, maybe. My father could make it 50 sometimes. But so it took us 2.5 days to get to Hollywood, Florida, and 2.5 days to get back. We were in the car longer than we were at Aunt Stella's. But it didn't bother me because there was no seat belts in the back seat, and there's a bench seat. And my sister, my younger sister, she's 1 year younger than me, we would just play this game where we bounced across from one side to the other. No seat belts, you know. And we'd look out the window and we'd count cows. I don't know if you ever played this game. When you pass the river, some of the cows drowned. When you pass a restaurant, they get eaten. So it's a math game is what it is. And we played that, and we're going down the highway, and there's no McDonald's, there's no fast food. And it's the old Dixie Highway, it runs down through Athens all the way down into Florida. And our first stop, because it's exciting for us, we get to eat out. And we stop at just outside of Athens at Rosie's Truck Stop, Laundromat, Deer Processing, General Store, Auto Repair. Everything in one stop. And we go back there, and the dining room is right next to where the taxidermy had been. And so some people brought things in to be stuffed, but they didn't come back to pick them up. So they used them to decorate the dining room. There's little tables with red and white checkered cloths on them. And somewhere there was a squirrel over here, and there was a fox over there, an owl over there. These things were staring at you while you were eating. And it was great because you could get like a hot dog for 10 cents and a hamburger. And that's what I like, hot dogs and hamburgers. And I have to tell you something about my father. My father, short guy, he was about 5'2". He was a short guy, but he was fairly handsome. He's in his 30s when we were on this trip. And he's a notorious flirt. Now, my mother tolerates this. She often said, he's like a dog chasing a car. He wouldn't know what to do with it if he caught it. and in this diner, there is a young waitress. I don't know, maybe she's in her 20s, and she's about 5'2", 5'5", but with her hair, she's almost 6 foot. I mean, it has a can of hairspray had given up its life to keep that hair, and it was lacquered up, and she looked like Nefertiti from the side, if you could say. And her name was Lenora on the tag on her shirt. And my father is just he's been in World War II, and so he's been to Europe. He'd been to France and some other places overseas, and he liked to show off his worldly knowledge. And Lenora is coming over to our table to take our order. And my father's getting excited. You know? His eyes are lighting up. He could be charming when he wanted to be, and he could take out a switch and get me when he didn't want to be charming. But he could be charming, and he's just getting ready to, he's excited Lenora's coming over. And Lenora walks over and got her notebook. Take your order now. And he says, Lenora. Yes, sir? Are you from Athens, Georgia? Yes, sir, I'm from Athens, Georgia. Lenora, have you ever heard of Athens, Greece? Now, there comes a moment when Hollywood scriptwriters couldn't have written this better. She turns and looks at him and says, I'm pretty sure we use lard from Buddy's Farm. My mother doesn't stop laughing till we get the Valdosta. And what it was great, because for the rest of their relationship, whenever he got too big for his britches, she could bring him down to earth with 2 words: Athens, Greece. And as we go down, and when we go further down the road, we stop across the state line into Florida, and we see this truck stop, roadside stand with parrots and things, and it says, all you can drink orange juice for 10 cents. And my father stops. He says, I'm gonna get a gallon. I must go in there and drink it up and get a gallon. And he goes in there and he gives them a dime, and they give him a little glass, and he drinks the orange juice, and then they say, "That'll be another dime." He said, "What?" It's all you can drink for 10 cents. That's all you can drink. I always like, we would go down to Aunt Stella, and Aunt Stella was my grandmother's sister. My grandmother was named Gertrude Maud, and she was a very stern woman, and she was an evangelical Baptist. And my Aunt Stella had been a wild woman. She wore hose and lipstick. She was a scourge of the family. She ran off to Albany, New York, and married a butcher named Thomas O'Neill. He was a Catholic. And that time, I didn't know what that meant, but it just bothered my grandmother. That's Stella. Oh. But I liked Stella, and I liked Uncle Tom. They'd come visit us, and they'd bring us these great gifts. It was an alligator, a back scratcher made out of an alligator claw, and orange blossom perfume for my sister, and a little crucifix made out of seashells. Those were wonderful things I thought they had in Florida. And we go down to visit them, and they come to visit us. And Uncle Tom, amazingly, he liked to watch baseball games. He was from New York. He could remember every game that the Brooklyn Dodgers, when they were in Brooklyn, played. And so when we were watching the game, he'd say, "That reminds me of the time in 1947 when I saw that." And that's why Uncle Tom was. And we go down there, and there's one thing that happened that always bothers me about going into Florida. I had this memory from a previous trip I made when I was very, very small, much younger. And we had stopped in St. Augustine. And somewhere in St. Augustine, I saw this very scary thing that bothered me for years. It was dead bodies and a red light and a man in a black outfit talking about the dead people. And they were there, and they had hands like this. And I didn't know what that was, and it used to give me nightmares, and it bothered me until just a few years ago, I went back up to St. Augustine, and I went to the Fountain of Youth. Has anybody been to the Fountain of Youth attraction in St. Augustine? Well, for a while, they had an open grave there where they had, in 1930s, discovered that this was a burial ground for the church, the mission that had been there, and the native people who lived there were buried, and they had excavated them, and they left it open, and they made it part of the attraction. And here's the amazing thing about it. They kept that attraction till 1991. I found it out just when I went back. They've closed it up now, and they explain and maybe apologize a little bit for what they did. But that's my memory, my first memories of Florida. Now, I want to tell you about another road trip that we went on. This is years later. This is just me and my buddy Louie. And we're going from Greenville, South Carolina. It's the summertime. Some wonderful summer times. Every summer I would go somewhere. And this time I could drive my own car. I'm a teenager, and Louie's with me. And we go to the Cherokee Reservation. Anybody been to the Cherokee Reservation in North Carolina? You know, right now it's got the casino there, so it's not what it used to be. When I went there in the 60s, it was a marvelous place. There were all kind of gift shops and ice cream shops and arcades and all kinds of exhibits, and there were native people and bears and all kinds of attractions. It's a tourist trap, really. And Louie, my buddy Louie, he's a tall, dark-haired guy. He's kind of quiet. He's kind of cool. He's Mr. Cool. He's so cool. Nothing phases Louie. And we're walking down the street in Cherokee, and we see this thing. It's the most amazing thing Louie has ever seen. It's a white box about 5 foot high and 4 foot wide. And across the top it says Bird Brain Challenge. And in the right-hand corner there's a little window, and we look in there, and there's a fluffy white chicken sitting there. And right next to it on the left-hand side is a tic-tac-toe screen. And there's a slot there, and for 25 cents you can play tic-tac-toe with a live chicken. Has anybody done that? Oh, wow, that's something. It was something. It was the 1960s, and so Louis, tic-tac-toe with a chicken. Who is that? It's got to be oh, come on. So he puts a quarter in and pushes a slot. A light comes on, and the chicken perks up. And there's this petition in front of him. We can't see what's behind the petition, but it says thinking booth. And the chicken goes over, and an X appears in the center. And Louis touches the upper corner, and the 0 appears. And then the chicken, it goes over and behind the thing, and the X appears here. It's X, it's O, it's X, it's O. Louis does not beat the chicken. He ties the chicken. And he can't believe it. The chicken, how did the chicken do that? $2.25 later, Louis has tied that chicken 8 times, and he lost once on purpose to see if he could throw the chicken off. And he can't believe it. And while he's playing, he's got all these excuses. Well, the chicken plays every day. I said, Louis, it's a chicken. And it's tic-tac-toe. How long does it take to learn to play? Well, I hadn't played in a long time. That chicken always goes first. I'd like to go first. If I could go first, I think I could beat it. So, Louis, I think it's more important on who goes last. But that's just my thought. I don't think this is an ordinary chicken. This is a special super chicken. It's been trained somewhere, and it's not an ordinary chicken. I said, Louis, you've been to high school. How smart that chicken is. And finally, Louis says, I think there's a computer in there. When that chicken goes behind that thinking booth, he's turning on a computer. I'm not playing against this chicken. I'm playing against a computer. He's about to put another quarter in, and I say, Louis, wait a minute. If by some miracle you beat this chicken, what are you going to tell people? I beat a chicken at tic-tac-toe? They're not going to be impressed if maybe unless they've seen this chicken. And Louis is just like, okay, all right, I give up. Pride's a terrible thing. And I used to think chickens were the dumbest animal on the planet. I said, yeah, me too, Louis. My father used to kill a chicken for dinner sometimes. We had chickens in the backyard, and when he walked off its head, it took a while for the chicken to realize it didn't have a head. And I thought they were dumb too, but obviously not. And so Louis goes back, and years pass by, and Louis, every time I ran to him, he said, remember that chicken? I said, yeah, I remember the chicken. I remember that day. Oh, I just can't believe it. And I look it up because the internet, we can find anything on the internet. And you could look this up too. In fact, you could go to YouTube and see videos of people losing their chicken. It's incredible. This was not the only tic-tac-toe chicken play in the country. They were all over the place. There was one in state fairs. There was one in New York City. There was one at casinos everywhere. There was a company in Little Rock, Arkansas called IQ Zoo. And they were animal behavioral scientists. They'd been trained by B.F. Skinner, who's the behavioral psychologist. And they had learned positive reinforcements. And they had some really unusual experiments. The government had contracted them to train pigeons to fire missiles. It's complicated. But they also had trained the first dolphins at Marineland. And they had trained the chickens to play tic-tac-toe. And what happened behind that thinking booth, there was a row of slots with lights on them. And when the light came on, a seed would drop down. And it was mechanical. So it was figured out ahead of time. The chicken wasn't really thinking about tic-tac-toe. It was thinking about where the next seed was coming from. And they found out that after a while, the chicken would peck without the seed falling. When you bought one of these arcade games, if you were a entrepreneur and had an arcade you wanted to put this in, you got 6 chickens because the chicken would get full after a while and be kind of lackadaisical about playing. And so you got 6 chickens. So trade them out. And they also had another arcade game. It was the dancing chicken, and there was one of those at Webb City over in St. Pete. People told me that they saw it over there, and it was a chicken was inside a little, looked like a little disco, the disco ball at the top, and it was the dancing chicken, and you put your quarter in, and the chicken would dance over and get some food and dance back. And, and the music would play. It'd be music. How could the chicken do that? Well, some people thought, there's a hot plate there. It's burning the chicken's feet. This is terrible. It's animal cruelty. No, that wasn't it. After I researched it, the floor of that thing was on a pedestal. And the chicken had learned how to walk over there and keep the balance and walk back. He wasn't dancing, and he wasn't getting a hot foot. And that's the thing about it. And Louis and I agreed that a chicken is not the dumbest animal in the world. The dumbest animal in the world is somebody who will spend $2.25 to beat a chicken. And that's my summertime stories.
How about that? Now my eyes have kind of adjusted to the room so I can actually see people in here. I wanted to talk about first times real briefly, because the first time I ever told a story at Orlando Story Club, the host was Robin Cowie, and Robin's joined us over there. And I told a story about being a cub master, and that was pretty cool. And the other person first in here is Terry Binion. The first time I ever played at the Blue Bamboo, Terry Ann and I shared a show that night, and it changed everything really for me. And I love both you guys, Terry and Robin. Yeah. And Madeline, are you honored so far? Okay, good. I wanted to talk about the fact that I did also take that drive from Greenville, although we stopped. I don't know where they took us down there because I was only about 11. My mother had 4 boys in 4.5 years. So she put us in the station wagon with her mother. We all had a little language based around some of our likes. And one of the things we liked to do was pass gas. And so there was a language about that in the car. Whenever someone, what we called pooped at the time, whenever you pooped, you had to roll down the window. So my grandmother noticed somewhere in hour 5 or 6, I don't know when, it's a long time in the car, that occasionally we would roll down the window and everybody would laugh. And she's like, what is going on? So I guess I didn't hear my mother. I don't know if they ever talked about pooping, to be honest. So I don't know whether she cued her in or she just kind of figured it out. But eventually, as on our second day, Grandma rolled down the window. So it's beautiful. I'm hearing you guys laugh along with Walt and enjoy his story. Isn't it amazing how many things we all have in common with the time that we've had? So now you're in for another great treat. Beth McKee is going to come out here and sing and play for us. I love Beth. I just can't tell you, even the songs that she's chosen tonight just blow me away. So I will go and get her, and we'll be back in just a minute.
You don't have to go get me. I'm right here.
There she is. Beth's always on the spot.
Hey, everybody. Time. It's so good to see you guys. Thanks for being here. So, time, it was an intriguing challenge. And I was excited and happy to accept it. Hey, Madeline. I love you. Hey, Jonathan. Looking forward, looking backward, all the different, what is time? It's just a measurement, right? Just something that, to keep track of the things we do. And I thought it would be nice to kind of take a look at looking back, looking forward. So, you know, sometimes time passes and things change for the better. They get better. And then sometimes more time passes and patterns emerge. And so maybe we find ourselves in the same old rut that we were before. And this first song is a little bit on that theme. It's called Railroad Ties. Her railroad ties are from a past of horizontal lines, memories that never sleep, hard times to make ends meet, telegraph lines and hotel suites, brakemen and conductors while the trains were being staged. 8 days a week, holiday rates, the roundhouse boys from the icy line, bringing their union paychecks. She'll get away any way she can, find the better looking glass to see herself in. Past will be the past. Take its time, she'll start all over and be fine once she puts those railroad ties behind. Wedding cakes and gowns, someone from another town, pure white, sugar sweet, promises to love and keep. That isn't how it turned out to be. One more sad rendition, same old song and dance. Time for her to break free again. She's working on another plan, and somewhere else to escape from her past echoing again. She'll get away any way she can, find a better looking glass to see herself in. Past will be the past, time can take its time. She'll start all over and be fine once she leaves those railroad ties that bind. Once she leaves those railroad ties behind. Thank you. Railroad. So yeah, railroad is kind of like a poignant thing for me, I guess. It kind of shows up in songs that I write. And I think in the measurement of time, the rhythmic clickety-clack of the railroads feels like a time measurement too. And when we're looking back and seeing those patterns, sometimes we look back with nostalgia. I mean, I'm of an age that nostalgia plays a role in my emotional palette. And I think back of times and places and memories and friends that I've lost along the way. And so this next one is kind of that nostalgia thing. It's written from the viewpoint of, no, not from my viewpoint, but based on a memory of riding. I'm from Jackson, Mississippi, and it was a common thing when I was a young adult for us to take the train down to New Orleans, because New Orleans, very drastically different from Jackson. And so this one is called New Orleans to Jackson, and it's talking about that trip. And it's written based on about a friend who I did lose, my high school best friend. We did theater together, we had fun together, and in 1992 he died of AIDS. So I still think about him every time I sing this song, so this one's for you, Ken. New Orleans to Jackson, a 3-hour train ride, way too short a time to ease back into life. Ain't no palm tree swaying, there's no music on the corner, just an old Baptist church with a graveyard by her side. Lord, it seems so long ago, we lingered over cocktails. We could feel the laughter and smoke hung in the air. Everything was simple then, so uncomplicated. But now it's just a smell in our clothes and in our hair. Put you in the past. Songs we've sung and tales we've read. Ain't it funny how a train will bring you back to sit around and weave these pretty memories in your head. The Poncha train is cold, but not as cold as the oysters we had at Casamento's early Friday night. The clink of a beer glass, the wink of a waitress, the promise of a weekend slowly turning right. You in the past. Songs we've sung, tales we've read. Ain't it funny how a train will bring you back to sit around and weave these pretty memories in your head. As we roll by Mendenhall, I recall a friend who's buried there. Seemed he was the one who wanted the most to live. An old crow on a fence post watches the train go by. Like a honeysuckle vine, life has these little twists. Don't ever think about it. Put you in the past. Songs we've sung, tales we've read. train will bring you back to sit around and weave these pretty memories in your head. Just sit around and weave these pretty memories. Thank you. Oh. And that little dramatic effect of changing the sound, my keyboard decided to do that for me. I just wanted y'all to know I didn't think I fooled anybody, but this thing didn't feel it. Corgi. But, you know, it kind of worked with the mood, and I was able to, I tried not to have a look of panic on my face. Okay, speaking of panic, okay, I'm really nervous right now because I'm fixing to do a song I've never done before, 2 songs I've never done before. One is a cover song, and one is an original song. I'm doing the cover song first because it's the hardest one, and because you've heard it, probably. And it's a Burt Bacharach song, and it is, I think it has to do with time because in looking, so we've looked in the past and now we're looking forward. And there are ways to look forward in the future. You can look forward with dread, or you can look forward with hope and anticipation. And in this particular song, I think it's the former. The song is titled Any Day Now. And I just hope, it's a bucket list song of mine. For 30 years, or really since my childhood, I've loved this song. It was a hit when I was little by Ronnie Millsap, but the best version was by a soul singer named Chuck Jackson, and even Elvis did it. But I always loved it. And every few years I would visit this song, go, I'm going to learn any day now. And then I go, whoo, that's too hard, I can't do it. And so this week, I'm doing it. Any day now, I will hear you say goodbye, my love, and you'll be on your way. Then, my wild, beautiful bird, you will have flown. Any day now, I'll be all alone. Oh, any day now, when your restless eyes meet someone new, and to my sad surprise, then the blue shadows will fall all over town. Love will let me down. Whoa, whoa, whoa. No, I shouldn't want to keep you if you don't want to stay. Until you're gone forever, I'll be holding on for dear life, holding you this way, begging you to stay. Any day now, when the clock strikes go, you'll call it off, and then my tears will flow, and my wild, beautiful bird, you will have flown. Any day now, love will let me down, 'cause you won't be around. Oh, and the wild shadows will fall all over town. won't be around. Don't fly away, little bird. Don't fly away, my beautiful bird. Any day now. Thank y'all. You're very kind. A very gracious audience. And it is a beautiful song, so I'm glad I checked that off now, and I hope to play it with my band, having a lot of other people behind me next time. Supporting. Oh, thank you. You're very sweet. Thanks. This one is it was my last song. Still looking in the future, and literally, I was still writing this song this week. It is a song I've had for like pieces of it from. I know you storytellers know that. You get little nuggets that you hide around in different little spots like squirrels. And I had this nugget, or what I perceived as a nugget of the idea of sitting up in the attic with a broom and sweeping and then just doing it all again, all the repetitive things that we do in our lives, you know, hoping for a positive outcome eventually, you know. One of my themes is, well, in 1969, I Googled this, Wikipedia told me, although I remember it, okay? The fifth dimension promised us that we were at the dawning of the age of Aquarius. And I was so hopeful as a 9-year-old. Didn't they segue that into a Coke commercial? That's probably why I know it. But I was so hopeful, and I believe, just like the earlier looking backwards things, that we've had some progress towards that age of Aquarius, that age of social and human enlightenment as a group. And then sometimes some patterns emerge. And we have to take a little step backwards. But I really still believe that we have hope and that we will have this dawning. We will have the launch time of the age of Aquarius, because the dawning has been a long dawning. And I'm a little impatient. I'm ready to let the sunshine in. So, thank y'all. That's what this one's called, One Step Closer. Up in the attic with a great big broom, all day long I'm at it, sweeping away my blues. Down in the kitchen where I've always been, washing the dishes and drying them off, washing them all over again. Wash away my sins. Funny things I do, I don't know what else. All these damn emotions I don't admit I felt. But just like you and everybody else, I'm waiting on the sunrise, wanna feel it on my face. Give me blue skies, I'm ready for day to break. With every breath I take, I feel it closer, just a little bit closer, maybe one step closer. Take me out of Tulsa in this daily grind. Staying here doesn't kill me, I swear I'm gonna lose my mind. carry me to Tucson on the winds of change. So much has happened here, things will never be the same. And I'm tired of all the pain. 'Cause once you've lost your brother, you've lost your closest friend. Once you've lost your mother, you'll never be a child again. Now I know the reason why we're here on earth, to love one another. So let's get down to work. I'm waiting on the sunrise, wanna feel it on my face. Give me blue skies, I'm ready for day to break, way past ready with every step I take. I feel it closer, just a little bit closer, maybe one step closer, one step closer, one step closer. Whew, I got through. Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
Wow. She's such a wonderful person and songwriter and singer. I know most all of you probably already know this, but she raises tremendous amounts of money for people in need in our community, and has worked with us here at the Bamboo to do that also. Just don't ever miss her. I have to, so my friend Teese Mallon is sitting over here, and Teese and I used to do a theater thing where we would do, well, we're still doing them, except nobody's hiring us. So I guess we used to do them. In case anybody's interested, you can find us on Living Room Theater. But I used to do a bit in there. What we did was stuff from our real lives. And when we would be together and notice something interesting, we'd say, hey, that's a bit. Let's do it in someone's living room. We did like 100 of them in the first year that we were after it. And I came with one that was, I Like to Cry. And it was because that overwhelming emotion that prompts this physical reaction that, we often feel we kind of even have to hide from people if you're crying. Well, I guess I got to tell you that during the second and third song Beth did, I was crying like a baby right back there. And the thing, such a beautiful voice and lyrics and such heartfelt renditions. I know you guys felt that too, right? I did want to continue to point out that we have some other Songs and Stories alumni in here. Chris Cortez actually told stories for us one night, in case if you missed that one. Jesse James is sitting back there. Jesse's also a musician and a brilliant storyteller. Jordan Christenot is back there. Now, he hadn't told any stories, but he was on that slide where Madeline and I were. I think that's where we did the Led Zeppelin thing. So I was talking to Bobby, who's going to be our teller right after intermission, and it turns out that Bobby used to do interviews for Growing Boulder magazine. You guys know Growing Boulder? And he actually interviewed none less than Madeline Potts in that magazine. And so Bobby said, hey, if we have enough time, could I come out there and kind of read what the article said about Madeline? So he's going to do that for us right now. I think, Bobby, there he is. Oh, no. All right, Bobby, it's all yours, brother.
Hey, everybody. I think we can all agree that this is too early for me to be out here. At least I'll agree to that because, I showed up earlier today for sound check, and I was told that I'm going to go on the second half. And for any of the performers in the audience, that means that you just get to kind of hang out in the back and like drink casually and not have to worry about other things. But then Jack, like about 11 minutes ago, was like, hey, in case we're short, would you consider? And I was like, oh, well, of course I will, because I mean, I'm a narcissist and I want all the attention possible. That's why we're all here. Not y'all. Y'all are here because you paid money, and thank you very much for all of that. But the rest of us in the back of the green room, which is not green, by the way, it's never green, we are mostly there because we're either Leos like myself, or we're existentially Leos. We're peacocking at all times. And so, yeah, thank you. Yeah, exactly. Anyone? Yeah, right. So anyway, this week I was just reflecting back on the last few really cool creative things I got to do. And Madeline has been a really great friend. And actually, when I got started in storytelling, she was, I won't even call her a mentor, because I think it's actually dismissive of what she was. She was actually a supporter. She was the biggest supporter of the work I was trying to do. And as I was struggling in front of a microphone and on a stage, she said, you are doing something special, and I can see that you can do more of this. And it was the nicest compliment I've ever received from someone who I respected a great deal from the moment I saw her on stage. And so as I was, I did some writing for Growing Bolder magazine, and for some of you who are NPR listeners, you might know Growing Bolder, the show, or anyway, it's a great publication, and television show and all these things locally. But it's all about living your best life, like at any age. It's about active engagement. It's about active living. And so I pitched Madeline. They were right out of the gate, said, absolutely, please do a story. And so this interview actually took place almost 3 years to the day. It was July 1st of 2020. So in the pandemic, don't worry, we were separate. We were in Madeline's. Her home was a beautiful space for arts. And she had even a stage in a back room where I have done I've done performances for 3 to 7 people just to get ready for the actual performance. So Madeline's a beautiful human being, and so I wrote this piece almost 3 years ago. Madeline, I owe you a series of apologies because. I have the magazine in which this was printed, and have for, as of like fall, about 3 years. But we haven't really seen each other because, again, the world has been a very dark place, and we haven't really seen each other in spaces a whole lot, and reasonably, we didn't see each other. Anyway, so I just moved, so they're in boxes in storage, so I'll be damned if I know where they are. I'll find them eventually. But because email is great, I do have this in front of me. So Madeline was, as I became a performer, she informed me that storytellers, this is really going to be hard for me. Storytellers don't read, they tell. But because, again, this was 3 years ago, I'm going to have to read it for you because time has happened and we're all aware, like we were all thinner, right? Like, again, like we're aware that time has happened. Anyway, so here is the piece that I wrote for Growing Bolder magazine. It may not be 100% because, again, I don't work there specifically. They might have edited it. And if that's the case, if anything we lost, that's on them. Tell me a story, Madeline. The first time I heard a Madeline Potts story was probably back in 2016. She was on her way to winning the first of 2 straight Orlando Story Club Grand Championships, and I was captivated. See, Madeline is a storyteller, a really good one. She's not a storyteller in the "a funny thing happened to me the other day" sort of way, but following the tradition of storytelling. She shares experiences, purpose. She shares the meaning in everyday encounters. She creates a connection with her audiences, community. Audiences hang on her every word, not only because of her humor and her charm, but because they're relating. They're seeing the universal in another person's specific experiences. It's a beautiful thing to witness. I wouldn't call her a natural because that doesn't pay respect to the amount of work that goes into observing, imagining, crafting, and perfecting her stories. But she's a natural creative. Throughout her life, she's been a professional potter, a joyful slam session specialist on her accordion or ukulele, an artist in the traditional sense, and a dancer. Today, she's a spinner of intricate verbal yarns so compelling that she's won multiple storytelling competitions, performed for audiences of thousands at festivals across the country, and has been invited to the stage at the world-famous Moth. As have I by now. Yeah. She recently told me, and it recently was about 3 years ago, so again, we're relatively speaking, she recently told me, quote, "There is no substitute in any of the arts for honesty." That she believes artistic truth is transferable across genres. Whether pottery or writing, she says, quote, "It has to do with the shape, with the form and energy. How you are building emotional intensity, how you are releasing it. There is a rhythm. There is a musical sense to the words." She sees the rhythm to the creative process, and her audiences feel it. In her storytelling, she invites us to walk with her, painting a scene with words and textures. Whether on the stage or sharing a coffee in her living room, which is what we did for this interview. This interview was amazing. Like, again, this is a sidebar, timeout. I'm going to do this a lot tonight. It was the middle of the pandemic, so we were all wearing masks, but then we just separated across her living room. We took a bunch of photos, which, again, I have some great ones. I apologize to you. And then we just talked for 2.5 hours. And she read me an original piece that she had never done before, and I read her some stuff that I had never done before. And it was such a great experience. One of the best days of my entire life. Anyway, time back in. We're back here now. Sorry, this is on my phone. Yeah, whether on the stage or sharing coffee in her living room, boom, found it. She brings a vividness and humor and carries a heartfelt air. I'm pushing 40 now. Okay, look, it's been 3 years, so I've hit 40, and we can all agree that's bullshit. Like again, any of you that's hit it before, it's not acceptable, and we're all still dealing with it. But so, anyway, I've hit 40 now. How dare you? Time. What is it? Is it this? What are we doing here? What do we? Is this like public comments section of the show? I'm not even supposed to be doing this. Jack told me this like 8 minutes ago. Anyway, I'm getting sorry, Mom. I'll get back to it. Sorry. And I'm still a relative newcomer to the storytelling scene. But over the last half decade or so of following this creative calling, Madeline has been there for me. She's been there since the moment of inspiration when I saw her take the stage, to the kind words she gave me after I gathered the courage and bumbled my way through my very first story. All right, I'm not going to spoil that one. At each point in my experience, she was there to lend words of support, share lessons learned on crafting, delivery, and detail, and thankfully told me when my jokes were bad, which was often. You were like, you should cut that. And I'm like, are you sure? And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, that's correct. That's good. She's been one of my biggest supporters, inviting me to join feature shows and recommended my name to perform at my very first festival, and it went great. Madeline and I are of a different generation. We're from different parts of the country even, but we've connected through shared experiences, even if decades apart. She's helped guide me to be a better writer and performer. She's as generous as she is talented. She's a genuine friend. But what I admire most about Madeline is her perspective. Life's cruel irony forced her to stop throwing pots, to stop dancing, but she's persisted. She's adapted because she says, quote, "There's creativity in anything and everything we do. We just have to acknowledge and accept it." She embraces creativity, she lives it, and she's not slowing down anytime soon. Never in my mind, dear. Quote, "Now I have more of a sense of prioritizing where I want to put my energy," she told me. But there is a wonderful feeling of, quote, "I'm 78. I'm not updating that for the team. I'm not going to do it." No. that's in print, so you are solid, girl. Don't worry about it. They can't do the math. They're an audience member. What do they know? They just paid money to be here. These are idiots. They don't know what they're doing. Come on now. Yeah, it's fine. I'm 78. I can do whatever I want to do. And that's a tremendous amount of freedom. It's continued. The truth is, that's where art comes from really giving a damn from not really giving a damn what anyone else thinks. I mean, that's it. You can, yeah. You can see some of Madeline's stories at madelinepotts.com. That's Potts with 2 T's. And she's one of my favorite people in the entire world. I love her so very much, and so Madeline. Again, had I planned this, I would have found the magazines or the photos or the whatever. Jack told me this like 11 minutes ago, so I was not properly prepared. I was drinking bourbon in the back room. You know what I mean? Like as one would do. But anyway, dear. Yeah, well, now this frees me from having to say nice things about you after the intermission, but we can just hug in the interim, so that'll be great. Madeline Potts, everybody, she's fantastic. So,
Thanks, Bobby, and we'll take a break and see you on the other side.
Tanto mar, para qué tanto cielo, de qué sirve la ola que quiebra el viento de la tarde, para que la tarde inútil paisaje puede ser que no vuelvas más, que no vuelvas nunca más, de qué sirven las flores que nacen en los caminos, si mi camino sin ti no es nada. Tanto mar, para qué tanto cielo, de qué sirve la ola que quiebra el viento de la tarde, para que la tarde inútil paisaje puede ser que no vengas más, que no vengas nunca más, de qué sirven las flores que nacen en los caminos, si mi camino sin ti no es nada. The summer sky I saw reflected in the color of your eyes, but somehow could never peel away the layers of disguise. I'm drowning now. I'm slowly sinking in a sea of blue and green, where what you are is never seen. How could eu prometi que eu iria cuidar de mim. Dessa vez tudo iria ser diferente. Dessa vez eu iria mudar. Coração não cura se eu não permitir. Eu deixo aqui nossas memórias do que pensei que me fariam feliz. Dessa vez tudo vai ser diferente. Dessa vez eu iria mudar. Deixa ir o que tem que ser levado. Abre mão de você e do nosso passado. Deixa ir o que tem que ir. shy. Oh, que bem que be shy. Oh, thank you. They say, they say, they say. Okay, thank you. Meu amor, que foi-se embora me deixando tanta dor, tanta tristeza no meu pobre coração, e até jurou me deixar, e foi-se embora para nunca mais voltar. Não posso esquecer o teu olhar longe dos olhos meus. I love the East, I love the West, and North and South, they are both the best. But I only want to go there as a guest. I love being here with you. I love the sea, I love the shore, I love the rocks. But what is more, when you're there, there'll never be alone. I love being here with you. Singing in the shower, laughing by the hour, life is such a breezy game. Love, I want to win as long as we're together. I love it when you call my name. I love good wine and fine cuisine. Candlelight, I like to sing. But baby, if you know what I mean, I love being here with you. Yeah, I love being here with you. Chris Evans, Brandon Pine, on the screen, they look divine. But they'll all have to wait in line, 'cause I love being here with you. Look on ahead without a shirt. If you were here, I'd surely flirt. But before you get your feelings hurt, I love being here with you. How about you take my wife like a bill? You stepped it up with magic mind. Baby, there ain't you no one plays ball sweeter. Get on ready, so out one strike. It's Robert Downey, coming first. Matt Damon washing back here on earth. I don't even know what Chris Hemsworth. 'Cause I love, yes I love, yes I love being here with you.
need y'all to repeat after me. Sing hidey, 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 hey. Hidey, hidey.
Guess what, everybody? I've been waiting since I got here to say this. It's time. This is a fun crowd. I notice a lot of you are making new friends in here and stuff. Yeah, beautiful. As if you hadn't had enough already, I get to reintroduce my friend Bobby with his story set. All right, Bobby? Hey.
That's the introduction?
Yeah.
That's the introduction.
Oh, wait a minute.
No, would you like to say anything about me other than...
Bobby is...
Really? This is it. This is your show.
Bobby can tell us, Bobby's going to tell a story.
All right. Well, I guess I better tell a story. Jesus Christ. All right. Hi, I'm Bobby. In case, like, that's the basic information that you know right now, which is cool. Hold on. I was expecting more. I wanted to drink some of this water. Yeah, thank you, Banks. Right, thank you. I'm going to leave this here in case I need it later. Because, again, I thought I was going to need it back there. I'm Bobby. I don't remember what Jack said before. Jack and I met at Orlando Story Club, for which I'm a co-host with my good friend Danielle Ziss. Danielle is bright and bubbly, and I am a big dumb animal who makes stupid jokes throughout the whole thing. So that is kind of, at an essential point, what you should expect tonight. And in fact, like Jack, when I showed up, he asked me what this shirt was, and I was like, well, it says Steep Canyon Rangers. And some of you know what that is, which is cool. If you don't know what it is, it's Steve Martin's band. And so essentially what I'm saying is, for the musicians on the stage, I'm aware of the music, but I'm mostly here for the laughter. So Chris in the back, like Chris Cortez, is a great musician and runs this institution. If in my monitors I could only get the crowd laughter, that would be really cool. That'd be really cool because that's what motivates me. Again, I'm a Leo. I'm a 3 in the Enneagram. I'm all the other things. I'm a human peacock. Please pay attention to me. Thank you very much for buying tickets again. This has been a joy. All right, good night, everybody. No. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I should do a thing. Where was I? So Jack's poor introduction, we've covered that. I just did a show at the Orlando Fringe Festival. It was great. If you didn't come, that's on you. It's fine. You can tip me later. I'll be in the back. I accept alcohol and actual cash. So when Jack invited me to do this show, I said, thank you, no. Because Fringe was a week and a half ago, and I'm very tired. And I did 7 shows in 10 days, and that's a very exhausting schedule for any of you who have ever done any show, much less an hour for 7 days over 10 shows. And he said, but what if you did? And I said, but kindly no thank you. And he said, but what if you did? And I said, well, I could bring a story that I've told before. It's been like a year and a half. It was actually before the pandemic because time is the theme of the show, and we're tying it in now. So time is bullshit, and it's really exhausted all of us. Again, I was a lot thinner when he asked me to do this show. But so I was like, well, I could do this thing that I've done in the past. It was like a year and a half ago. It was 3.5 years ago. So bear with me. And then I was like, I'll also do a thing probably just from my show, and I'll expand it, and I'll have a good time, and we'll riff, and we'll enjoy ourselves together. And Jack said, what I wanted to hear was yes. And he said, and can you find another storyteller? Which is why Walt is here. Thank you, Walt. Walt was great. Again, a newspaper man with all the stories. Ask him about interviewing Dolly Parton, all the things. Like he's a gem. We both went to the University of Georgia. That means nothing, but we have won a lot of like football championships lately. So for any of you that means anything for, yeah, all right, we did it. Go Dogs, etc. Anyway, and what am I supposed to do up here? You want a story, right? Okay, so I'd like to present you with. The entrepreneur. I became an entrepreneur in the 6th grade, which seems early, but keep in mind that your preteen years are the perfect time to experience the exhilarating highs and crushing lows of success and failure. So from a capitalistic standpoint, it tracks. Now, I grew up in Northwest Georgia in a quiet little winding road of the community, amongst the flowing hills and the winding streets. Where I grew up, it was a very small community, and my nearest neighbors were Steve, the All-American, and Jason, kind of a hellion, if you will. And they loved nothing more than to play baseball or football out in the front yard. But as a dedicated indoor kid, a video game loving, nerdy, sort of indoor kid, I didn't exactly always connect with the community in which we were surrounded, which was primarily, like they would support Jason and Steve in their athletic endeavors, but my passions lay in a less celebrated venue. Some of you might have read them, of comic books. Now, keep in mind, I grew up in a pre-internet age. This was way back in the 1900s. Back before a comic book and nerd culture had really taken over, and back before the deep knowledge of the Avengers or Spider-Man, back when it would encourage ridicule and not cosplay, back when an understanding of these things, like Tease, like who is Tony Stark? Okay, I pointed to the worst possible person. Who is Tony Stark? Iron Man. Back when knowledge of, wow. Yeah, sorry, Tease, I'm sorry. She's like, no, who's your meditative guru? That's who you should have pointed. I just looked, sorry, Tease, that's, yeah. Tease, who were you listening to during your first acid trip? That would have been the proper questioning. But anyway, so Tony Stark is Iron Man, and again, like Peter Parker is Spider-Man. These are the sort of questions that we knew now we know, but at the time, you were going to be mocked for that sort of situation. But as a nerdy kid, I followed my passions, and those passions led me to an absolute treasure, to the hallowed halls of McKay's Used Books and CDs, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Now, every kid needs their safe haven, and mine was McKay's. And if you go to McKay's today, it is an absolute warehouse with rows upon rows of books, like really well organized, of everything that you'd ever asked for. But when I found McKay's, it was a little hole in the wall, actually back behind like a Costco. It was a tiny little corner, and their books were stacked 3 deep in these dusty, handmade wooden shelves. But in the very, very back, I found an absolute treasure, a gift. Hidden behind the Harlequin romance novels and the discarded Kenny G CDs, I found an absolute treasure trove of comic books. 25 cents, 50 cents, $1. I didn't have a whole lot of money, but it didn't even matter. They clearly didn't understand what they had on their hands, but I wanted to absorb all of it. And I learned from it. The X-Men taught me that to not judge people based on differences that we had. And Spider-Man taught me with great power came great responsibility, and that being smart was actually heroic. There were some real life lessons underneath those bulging biceps. And because the hallmark of the nerd is obsessiveness, I wanted to absorb everything that I could. And then one day, opportunity knocked. I was at school reading an odd issue of the Uncanny X-Men when a friend of mine walked up and said, "Hey, Bobby, can I read that?" "No, man, I'm not done yet." "No, seriously, Bobby, let me have it. I'll give you $1 for it." "No, I'm good. I'll give you $2. And at first, my response was, "No, thank you. I've only read it 6 times. But then it hit me. Because I didn't have $1 to my name, let alone 2. And I knew that $2 would get me a fat stack of comics from McKay's. So in that moment, I made that deal. In that moment, I said, yes, thank you, to that old issue of the Uncanny X-Men. And I exchanged that issue for $2 that I carefully tucked into my Velcro Atlanta Braves wallet. And in that moment, I knew something. I knew that I was in business. Yeah, now if this was a movie, you can cut to the montage. Weeks of me flipping through issues of comics at McKay's, reading through Wizard Magazine, a whole magazine about comic books, learning everything I can about first editions, like special covers, like everything I could do to sell. I tried to tell my neighbors, Steve and Jason, about my commercial exploits, but they were too busy playing sports. Simpletons, I said. I'm getting back to business because business is good. Because of my nerd brain and a newfound gift of gab, I'm exploiting some serious market inefficiencies in my middle school economy. Yeah. It's simple supply and demand. Before first period, I'm pushing the Fantastic Four. In break, I'm like targeting easy Marks and Rubes with some easy-to-sell covers. But for my more sophisticated clientele, I'm like, hey, ma'am, I got some primo Wolverines over here. These are some sweet reads. Yeah. I'm kind of like a drug dealer, only no one's inviting me to parties. But that's okay because my Velcro Atlanta Braves wallet is getting thick. I'm like the Gordon Gekko of geeks. Now, sorry for you younger people out there in the audience. Gordon Gekko was he was a movie character about capitalism in the 80s and like too much greed. It'd be like Elon Musk today, or like Jeff Bezos, or any sort of monstrous late-stage capitalism person. Again, pay for your popcorn, but greed is terrible. Gordon Gekko's a monster. Anyway, I'm sorry, what were we talking about? We're back to this story. Gordon Gekko, etc. Anyway, so like any good, successful business, mine encouraged competitors. And sure, there were some people out there pushing that DC Comics trash. Yeah, I said it. Superman sucks. He does. Like Aquaman? Aqua, please. He's got. Look at the movie. He's hulky, but he's got a 5 dent. It's not a trident. It's a 5 dent. How dare you? How dare you? You miscounted the men. But again, let's get back to it. Sorry, time back in. But these discount daredevils, there were folks like, okay, DC Comics. There were other folks that were selling like toys or candy or whatever else. But these discount daredevils, that's the joke. Here, these discount daredevils, these embarrassing Eternals, these poor man's Punishers, they could not compete with the expanding empire that I had, because I had developed an unstoppable force. I had become the Kingpin. That's like a Spider-Man villain for those of you. Like, again, like it's very funny if you get that joke. Like, I love it. It's for me. The rest of you, I genuinely don't. You've already paid your money. I could care less. Anyway, so by the end of the year, like school's out, the bell rings, and I look into my Velcro Atlanta Braves wallet, and I have accumulated over $200 of pure profit. Which, again, doesn't sound like a lot of money today, but keep in mind that this was the 90s and I was 11. And when you're 11, $200 is all the money in the world. It's like, this is like PS5 money. Yeah, right. This is the young person in the audience, in case you all have, again, PS5 money. So I'm feeling really good about myself. But again, the bell rings, school's out for summer. And I'm like, see you later, suckers. See you next year. I sprint home, and immediately my phone is ringing, and I pick it up. I'm like, oh, it's my neighbor, Jason. He's like, hey, buddy, summertime. You want to go fishing? I'm like, sure. Why not? So I'm immediately sprinting across the yard, across to the pond, across the street from us. I don't even change my clothes from school. So I'm throwing off my shirt and shorts, like just all pale and skinny in the sun. It is summertime, and the living is easy. The next day, I wake up, and I am so excited to enjoy the benefits of my hard work. So I dig through my shorts, and I don't find anything. And I turn out my backpack, and again, there's nothing there. And everywhere I look, I fail to find a Velcro Atlanta Braves wallet. Oh, but I remember, yesterday I took it out across the street. I didn't want it to get wet while we were fishing. So I went across and found, again, nothing. But I called Jason, obviously, because, again, he was a friend of mine. And again, Jason was an all right kid. He'd gotten into a little bit of trouble, might have broken into a house or two, ours included. But he wouldn't have taken it. He was my friend. And he even told me as much. Yeah, man, haven't seen it. Click. Again, click is a thing we had to do with phones. Like it wasn't on a square brick. It was a physical thing. You understand. Your mom will explain it to you later. But I paced that pond across the street from me every single day that summer, hoping to find that wallet. And I never did. It was a total loss. I'm accepting tips later. No, just kidding. But that's the thing about being an entrepreneur. Sometimes those are the breaks. Either you accept that there's a loss from theft or an act of God, or who knows, maybe it's DeSantis's terrible insurance policies. But at a certain point, you have to recognize that either you rebuild and you move on, or you close up shop. Years later, I came back home from college, and I was out in the front yard when a car drove up, and it was my old neighbor, Steve, the All-American. And he came out, and we caught up after years of not seeing each other. And he said, at a certain point, he said, like, well, I have some bad news for you. See, earlier that year, our friend Jason had been in a terrible car accident. He was thrown from the vehicle, and he died. So that evening, we just caught up and shared stories about our friend who was gone too soon. 2 kids, barely 20 years old, trying to make sense of this. And I learned then, and I understood, that the things in life that are the most valuable aren't financial, they're personal. But Steve and I, sitting there chatting in my front yard, I couldn't help but ask, did you ever see him with a Velcro Atlanta Braves wallet? All right, thank you guys. Yeah. I mean, I got another one, Jack. Like, do you want to come do a thing? So here's the. I don't know. I haven't. I'm not paying attention. Like, I've got less than 10 minutes left. What are you doing? That was one story. I told you. Here's the thing. So we didn't rehearse this because, if you couldn't tell, we. Do you want to play me a song while I ruminate over the next thing, or do you just want to hang out? Like, so this is what's fun about this. So I was like, oh well, I didn't know how this show was going to be set up. Do you just want to go? How did I go too long?
No, you're just fine. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend Bobby.
All right, well, hey, I guess I'm fucking done. All right, yeah. All right, thanks, Jack.
You're welcome.
See you afterwards. All right.
It's hard to tell when Bobby's kidding, isn't it? Is everybody having fun so far? I hope I don't mess that up. I want to sing you the first song that my son ever liked that I had written. He was about 14 and he said, "Well, that's pretty good." And let me tell you, that was more praise than I had received in quite, several years. So. Turn the TV off, come outside with me. Let's take a walk, there's a moon to see, I wanna be with you. Before the movie starts, the show begins, the baby cries, the whole day ends, I wanna be with you. Before the show starts, the miles go by, the years go by, another year goes by, I wanna be with you. Oh, come with me, it's been a long time, got a long time to go. Dinner bakes, yes, I ate them all after he graduates, and the leaves all fall, I wanna be with you. While we choose a film, remember him, call up old friends, see them again. I wanna be with you. Oh, come with me. Before the judgment's made, the time has come. Before the last long breath and the siren song, I wanna be with you. Oh, come with me. It's been a long time. I'm glad you were here. I'm glad that you're here. I'm so glad you're still here with me. Thank you. Penelope. Retune just for a minute there. Excuse me. Early in the pandemic, I did a couple of shows here where there was no audience. And then I did one where there was one person in here. It was Jordan Christenot sitting back there. During that time, my wife and I learned a new appreciation for each other. And it involved, being isolated together and spending a lot of time drinking and watching movies. And she had gotten to the point where she could actually watch a movie and not notice that I'm over there going. And this was the first instrumental that I ever wrote and performed here for the first time. And while I'm on that subject, I have to let you know that part of the nonprofit primary objectives are to give a safe space for audiences and for musicians and whatnot, and to nurture new talent and I am a benefactor of that. And thank you very much, Chris Cortez and Melody, Katie. Thank you. I appreciate that. While we're on the subject of time tonight, I'd like to suggest that we honor the time that we have at least once a day and spend it in complete peace and quiet. Thank you, Penelope. So I'm going to try to provide some peace for a moment here. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, I'm gonna, after I finish tuning maybe, I get to ask Beth McKee to come back up and sing with me. There she is. Good, I'm glad, thank you. That was the point.
Yeah, accomplished.
Now for something completely different.
Yeah.
When I'm lying in my bed at night, I don't want to grow up. Nothing ever seems to work out right. I don't want to grow up. How do you move in a world of fog that's always changing things? It makes me wish that I could be a dog. Gonna put a hole in my TV set. I don't want to grow up. Open up the medicine chest. I don't want to grow up. I don't want to have to shout it out. I don't want my hair to fall out. I don't want to be filled with doubt. I don't want to be a good Boy Scout. I don't want to fall in love and get in love and get married, then boom. I don't want to grow up. I sure would like to remember the lyrics to that.
You remembered a lot of lyrics.
Golly. When I see my parents fight, I don't want to grow up. They all go out and drinking all night, and I don't want to grow up. I'd rather stay here in my room. There's nothing out there but sad and gloom. I don't want to live in a big old tomb on Grand Street. Ooh, when I see the 5 o'clock news, I don't want to grow up. Comb their hair and shine their shoes, I don't want to grow up. Stay around in my old hometown. I don't want to put no money down. I don't want to get a big old loan and work them fingers to the bone. I don't want to float a broom, fall in love and get married, then boom. How in the hell did I get here so soon? I don't want to grow up. Oh no. I appreciate that greatly. I think I skipped a verse and your solo. Holy moly, I can't believe I did you.
So, y'all, Jack divorced himself from any notes tonight, and I applaud that. I do. I strongly applaud that.
Ah, yeah.
That is a total lesson in bravery, and you just yourself. No cheat sheets here. I have like catalogs, colored tabs. Look at this.
Well, I
Color freaking coded notes I've got.
I don't know what to say about that really. I appreciate y'all's tolerance. I hope you got the gist. Is that I've already grown up. Although they say that from a time perspective, you are going to get older, but you don't really have to grow up. I know you all know that out there. So actually, that concludes our show for this evening. Something else I forgot to say was that was our last song for the night. But
You want to do that verse?
skip that verse again.
You want? Okay. So
Let me see that.
you can have half of it.
Oh, I'm going to need the other half. I only need it for a second, and I'll give it back to you. Oh, gosh, you're right. I needed the first half, didn't I? I don't know what to do, but I guess we'll try to do it again. I don't know. Oh, no. I'm sweating like a
So you
chunk
got
of
lying
rancid
in bed
pork.
at night. Then
Okay.
you see, when I see the price I pay,
I missed that one, didn't I?
price, then hole in the TV set.
All right.
Price, hole, parents,
I got an idea.
5 o'clock
Why don't
news.
you deliver the first line of each
I'll
one?
clue you. I'll give you those clues before.
you
I'll
could
say,
just-
parents.
You could just sing those first lines.
It's not in my range. Okay, I'll do it. Okay. When I see the 5 o'clock news, I sound like I'm yodeling though. It's out of my range totally.
What's cool about this, folks, is this is real. You're not going to get this on the radio or on television.
No, you would not, and for good reason. Huh? Sing harmony.
All right. I don't know. Let's see what happens. When I'm lying in my bed at night, I don't want to grow up. Nothing ever seems to turn out right. I don't want to grow up. How do you move in a world of fog that's always changing things? Makes me wish that I could be a dog. When I
See the price that you pay.
I don't want to grow up.
I don't
ever want to be that way.
I don't
want
wanna
to grow up. Stay around
Folks
and
turn into
to things they never want. The only thing to live for is today. I'm gonna put a hole in my TV set. I don't want to grow up. Open up the medicine chest. I don't want to grow up.
Shout.
Shout it out, shout it out. I don't want my hair to fall out. I don't want to be filled with doubt. I don't want to be a good Boy Scout. I don't want to have the merit amount. I don't want the biggest amount. Well, I don't want to grow up. Let's take when I see the price that
Parents
you pay.
fight.
Parents fight.
Go.
I don't want to grow up.
Drinking all
Go
night.
out and drinking all night. I don't want to grow up.
Stay here.
So I won't stay here in my room.
Nothing.
There's nothing out there but sad and gloom. I don't want to live in a big old tomb on Grand Street.
Woo! When I see the 5 o'clock news,
I don't want to grow up. They comb their hair and shine their shoes. And I don't want to grow up. Stay around in my old hometown. I don't want to put no money down. I don't want to get a big old loan and work them fingers to the bone. I don't want to float a broom, fall in love and get married, then boom. How in the hell did I get here so soon? I don't want to grow up. Where are Walt and Bobby?
Madeline Potts, everybody. Madeline Potts. We love you, dear. Yeah. Oh, this is our girl.
need y'all to repeat after me. Sing hidey, 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 hey. Hidey, 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 ho. Heedy, 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 he. Ode, 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 ho. Never knew how much I loved you. Never knew how much I cared. When you put your arms around me, I get a fever that's so hard to bear. You give me fever.